Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to my Tajweed video series. Today, I just wanted to give a very basic rundown of all of the letters of the Arabic alphabet. This video is helpful if you're trying to learn how to read the Quran or how to read Arabic in general. Even if you're not Muslim, you're more than welcome to join. So what I'm going to do for this video is go over a couple things. One is just basically identifying the different letters of the Arabic alphabet. Another is going through which letters are light and which ones are heavy. And then in my next video, I'll show you what each letter sounds like with their short vowels. So let's get started with the alphabet. Our first, let me see, I want to annotate this. Okay, so our first letter is alif. Now this alif has a little hamza on the top. Um, and so technically this is a hamza, it's not really an alif, but imagine that little number 2 looking thing there wasn't there and it was just that straight line. That's an alif. Alif. It's a light letter. And that means that when you say this letter, um, you will smile when you say it. So you say alif. Alif. This next letter is ba. Ba. It sounds like a B like boy. Very easy letter to learn. And it has this curve here with one dot underneath. You'll notice that the next two letters also have that curve, and the number of dots and where the dots are will help you identify that letter. So ba, ba. Ba is also a light letter. So let's actually go ahead and just mark off letters as light and heavy. So I'm going to use a check mark to mark off the light letters. Okay. This next letter is da. Da. Now, da has two dots, right? So that should help you remember t, t, t for ta, and then t for two. And has two dots on top. And this isn't so important here because as individual letters, uh, da, ba, and tha, right? Or bat, da, and tha, those are the only ones that have similar shapes. But once they start connecting, ya will have a similar shape as the connected versions of ba, da, and tha. So remembering that da is the one that has two dots on top is going to be very helpful for you in the future. Also, ta is a light letter. So we're going to mark it here with a check mark to signify that when we say this letter, we're going to smile. Da. The next letter is tha. Tha. This is a hard TH, the kind of TH that you would use in words like think and thought. So tha has three dots, so that should help you remember. Three dots on top, and they're arranged like a triangle. And again, it's the same shape as da and ba. And tha, as you can hear me saying it, tha is a light letter. So we're going to mark it here with a check mark. Our next letter is jim. Jim. Jim has this little shape here, like ha and kha. So jim here has this like belly shape, and it has one dot in the middle of the belly, like a belly button, a jelly button. So it has a J sound, the way that you would say in jelly. So jim, when you say it as a, it's going to be ja. And when you say that, you smile. So jim is a light letter. Jim. Ha. Ha. Now, this is when we start to get into the letters that sometimes people find a little difficult to pronounce, which is fine. It just takes lots of practice, but you will get it. Ha comes from the back of your throat. Ha, ha, almost like you have something very hot in your mouth. Ha. Now, when you say ha as you will say ha. So you are smiling when you say it. So again, we get a little check mark for ha. Ha. The next letter is kha. Kha. Kha will come from your epiglottis, which for people who don't know science, that's just like a little flap that covers your windpipe. And it's kind of like when you have something stuck in your throat and you're trying to get it out. Kha, kha. Now you'll hear me say kha different than if I said kha. It's not kha. Although in some dialects of Arabic, people do say kha. In Fusha, kha is a heavy letter. So kha, by the way, Fusha is just proper formal Arabic. So kha in Fusha is a heavy letter. So I'm going to mark it. I don't mean to say that an X as in like it's bad, but I don't have many options for stamps here. So we're just going to go with this X mark. But kha. And kha has one dot on top. Kha has one dot on top. So this should help you kind of remember that you have something stuck in your throat at the top of your throat. So you'll go kha. The next letter is dal. 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 It kind of sounds like a D, which is why they have a D here, but it's not as sharp as a D. So hear the difference. This is if I were to use a hard D, and it would be dal, dal. But dal, it's a little bit softer. Um, da. So your tongue is behind your teeth on the roof of your mouth. Um, and it's almost a little like pressed on the top, pressed near the front of the roof of your mouth. So it'd be dal, dal. Now, when you say dal, you smile. So we're going to make this a check mark because it's a light letter. The next letter is dal, dal. A lot of people who grow up, well, I'm Pakistani, so a lot of people who grow up in Pakistan or India, they learn this letter as zal, but that would be incorrect. Zal has the same TH sound as this and that. It's a little buzzy, a little vibration. Your tongue is sticking out a little bit. Zal, zal. And when you say it, you smile. So we're going to put a check mark here. The next letter we're going to have a whole separate video on later is ra, ra, ra. Now, ra in the Quran, you have a heavy ra and a light ra. We're going to get into the rules behind all of that later. The light ra, I've learned, is easier to say. It's like like if you've ever spoken Spanish before, that like light roll of your tongue, like sombrero, right? Like ra, ra. I really am not. My Spanish accent is not very good, but I did my best. The heavy ra, the sides of your tongue will touch your top molars, and you'll roll it a little bit. So you'll go ra, ra. This is another one of those letters that most people need to give a little extra love to in terms of giving their time. So I'm going to put a little heart in the corner here for letters that people usually have a little hard time learning and that you just need to give a little extra time and love to. Ra is a heavy letter. When you say it, you'll say ra with your mouth open and not smiling. Well, both times you're saying it with your mouth open, but you're not going to be smiling when you say ra. So we're going to give it a little X mark here. I don't. So when I learned Arabic, I didn't learn it as Zain, the next letter. I learned it as Za. So I'm gonna, oops. let's see. Okay. I'm going to just block that out because I don't know. This just wasn't how I learned it. Not saying it's wrong, but just, there we go. Okay, so we're going to say it as za, za, za. Za is just a simple Z sound, so it's nice buzz, za. And you can hear it. I'm smiling when I say it. So we're going to give za a check mark. The next letter is seen. Seen. This is a normal S sound. Seen. Seen as the is going to say sa. You're smiling when you say it. So we're going to give it a check mark. Seen. The next letter is sheen. Sheen. Now, sheen has 3 dots on top. So they're similar in shape, but again, the number of dots and where they are going to be crucial to how you understand and recognize these letters. So sheen is just normal SH sound, like when you say things like she or should. So sheen, when you use it as it's going to be sha, sha. And again, that's a smile letter, so we're going to give it a check mark. The next letter is sod. Sod. This is one of our letters that most people have to give a little extra love to. I'll put that there. Sod, you kind of have to pucker your lips a little bit when you say it. I know in Pakistani culture, they sometimes will say swad instead of sod. You don't want to pucker your lip and then contract it and then relax it. So because you don't want to sound like swad, you just want to go from that light pucker, sod, and just open your mouth. Sod, sod. Now you can hear it. It's a very heavy letter. You say saw, saw. So we're going to give it an X, sod. Now, the next letter, fun fact, Arabic is the only language in the world that has this letter or this sound. And I'm going to give it a little love here because this is another one of those letters that people usually tend to need to give some extra time to. And this is bod, bod, bod. Bod, you kind of have to put your tongue at the top of your mouth and then bring some air into your cheeks, like you're blowing a bubble into your cheeks. So I know you can't see me, but I'm doing it. Bod. And then you just let all that air out. Bod. Bod. Now, you can hear it again. Bod is a heavy letter, so we're going to give this an X mark. Bod. Bod. Our next letter, actually our next three letters are letters that, again, people usually need love on. So I'm just going to go ahead and give them all a little love here. Our next letter is ba. 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 Ba has it kind of looks like a T. It kind of sounds like a T, but similarly to wad, you want to put your tongue as if you were about to say that, and then bring some air into your cheeks. Ba. 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 And that'll help you say that letter properly. Again, you can hear it. This is a heavy letter. Ba. Our next letter is va. 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 So similarly to ba and da being kind of similar letters and similar sounds, va and dal are kind of similar. If you said wa as a light letter incorrectly, you would make it sound like a dal. And if you had said dal incorrectly and said it like a heavy letter, you would make it sound like a wa. So what you do here is you cut your tongue where you would if you were about to say dal. Then you, instead of smiling the way that you would with dal, you release that smile and then you open it out into an aw. So you say law, law, law. And again, heavy letter here. Our next letter is Ayn, Ayn, Ayn. Ayn also comes from the back of your throat, a little near the base of your throat, and you almost feel it like, I don't know, this is probably me going a little crazy, but you kind of feel it like on the muscle of your throat, like Ayn, Ayn. Um, I don't want to scratch it. I'm not even gonna say it. But anyways, Ayn has this like backwards three look, and it's similar to Ghain, which by the way, I don't know where that little dot went, but we'll give it a little dot. Give me a second. Actually, when we get to it. Ayn is a light letter. Ayn is a light letter. So when you say it as an it's gonna say ah, ah, ah. Our next letter is Ghain. Ghain. Now, as you can see, it has the same shape as Ayn, except, let me go ahead and bring out that dot. It has a dot on top. That's really pathetic. But actually, here, let me undo that and just put a regular dot. Give me 1 second. Let's find it. And here, I'll give you a little dot. There we go. So Ghain is almost like you're gargling something. Ghain, Ghain. Ghain is a heavy letter. So when you say Ghain as an it's going to say gha, gha, gha. So we're going to give it a heavy letter. And similarly to kha, you can think of this dot on top as something that you're trying to gargle out. Gha, Ayn, Ghain. Next letter is pretty simple. This is fa, fa. Fa and qaf, their base shape, right? Let me go ahead and show you here. You see how it has this circle and then it goes into this dip? It's kind of similar to qaf, but qaf is going to have a deeper dip. Just I wanted to make that clarification earlier on. Fa is going to have a flatter dip, and qaf is going to have a deeper and more rounded dip. Now, fa has one dot on top, and it's just a normal F sound, and it's a light letter. So when you say it as an it's going to say tha, tha. The next letter is qaf, qaf. This is one of those letters that people usually need to give a little bit more love to. Qaf is, well, we put a Q because there's no letter in the English alphabet that sounds like qaf. But qaf comes from the bottom of your throat. Qa. Actually, no, that's not it. Qa, qa, qaf. I would say it's from the middle of your throat. Qaf, 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 qaf. The lower portion of your throat. And it's kind of like a K, except you have to give it a little bit more oomph. So it goes from the bottom portion of your throat, and you have to give it a K sound from down there. So instead of ka, it's going to say qa, qa. And qaf is a heavy letter, so we're going to give it an X. Our next letter is gaf, gaf. Gaf is similar to K, right? So kaf is how you would say it if you use a normal K sound. But gaf is different from a K in that when you say the letter K, you kind of release air. So you say ka, like king. You hear how I release air a little bit when I use that K? King. If I had used a gaf, it would say ging, ging versus king. So you want to say a K, but not release that much air. So instead of saying ka, you're going to say ga, ga, gaf, gaf. And as you can hear it, this is a light letter. Our next letter is lam, lam. sounds most similarly to an L, but like K, it's a little different from, like, there's a little bit of a difference between an L and lam. An L, you touch your tongue to your teeth. When you say lam, you roll your tongue back a little bit behind your teeth and then you just let it go. Lam, lam, lam. And this is a light letter. Our next letter is meme. Meme. This is a normal M sound. Meme, meme, meme. And when you say meme as a ma, it's going to say ma. So you smile when you say it. Next letter is noon. 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 Noon is just an N. N, N, noon. Yes, it's just like an N. And it's going to be a light letter. So when you say it as an A, it's going to say na, na. I mentioned earlier that in the connecting forms, ya is going to look a lot like ba, da, and tha. Same with noon. In some of the connecting forms, noon is going to look similar to ba, da, and tha. So just keep that in mind. The difference that you'll see between a noon and a ba, for example, is that noon will have one dot on top and bat will have one dot on bottom. So on the bottom. So don't just remember how many dots each one of these things has, but also remember where that dot is in relation to, I guess, the foundation of the shape of that letter. The next letter is ha, ha, ha. Ha is a lighter H sound. So how do I show this? I'll just type it. Why not? So, okay. This is going to be I guess we'll call it the more fierce version. I don't really know. The more intense H. And then this ha is sort of the more gentle, airy one. This one is more of a sigh, like ha. Actually, I'll write that. That sounds better. This is a sigh, and the other one is that fierce, like ha. But a ha is like a sigh of relief, like ha, ha. Comes from the bottom of your throat. Some people, when they first learn this letter, they do it as ha, ha, where it's like an H sound, but it's not that from ha. That would be wrong. Ha comes from the bottom of your throat. And if you find that little dip at the bottom of your throat and you touch it and you say the letter ha, you should be able to feel it vibrate. Ha, ha. Actually, I think you hear it vibrate all the time. So maybe my teacher kind of tricked me there. But anyways, ha is going to be a light letter. So we're going to give it a check mark. Next letter is wow, wow, wow. And wow is going to make a w sound, like a W. So wow. And wow as an is going to make you smile. So we're going to give it a check mark. And then our last letter is ya, ya, ya. And ya just makes a Y sound. And as you can hear, it's a smile light letter. Now, there is one letter that we did not cover here, but we did briefly allude to in the beginning, and that is the letter Hamza. And the letter Hamza looks like this shape right here. Let me show you. That would be this one right here. And this shape is Hamza. And Hamza is going to make a sound. An as in when you're saying a word that starts with an A, it's different than when A comes in the middle of a letter, right? When you say the word apple, for example, you kind of have to give it a little pause in the beginning and then break your voice into sound. So you say ah, ah, ah. It's almost like I don't know why in my head I always think of it as like a crisp of a chip where all it's not there and all of a sudden you just hear it and you could barely make it out. Ah, versus A and happy. You don't really hear the A as pronounced as an apple. Ah, apple versus happy where A is kind of just the mediator level letter thing, you know what I'm saying, right? So Hamza is going to have that little break sound. So ah, ah. And I'll give it a check mark there as well, because that is also a smile letter. Okay, so we have gone through all of the letters. Just as a review, the letters that are marked with check marks are light letters, which means that when they come with a sound, which we'll get a little bit more into next time, um, you're going to smile when you say it. The letters that are marked with an X are heavy letters. And those ones you're going to make your mouths like you're uh gaping at something, right? Is that the word? Oh, like oh, right? Like what's what is the word I'm looking for? But anyways, your mouth is going to be open and kind of rounded. Aw, aw. The letters that are marked with a heart are the letters that are sometimes difficult for people to learn how to say. So I would just spend a little extra time practicing these letters and teaching yourself and being patient with yourself and learning how to say them properly. And then finally, when you learn how to recognize these letters, really be sure to remember where the dots are and how many they are, both, not just one or the other. And that said, that concludes this video. I really hope that it was beneficial to um, anyone who decided to watch it. And stay tuned for our next video. Assalamu alaikum.